A good writer must also be a good reader. So, fellow writers, what are you reading these days, and what takeaways can you get from it that will help you in your writing? Show me in the comments or tell me what you're reading, and we'll talk about it maybe later. But it's Sam with another Friday video for you, talking about reading, writing, not arithmetic this time, or probably ever, not my specialty. But here we are. Um, yeah, books. Always want to talk about books. Um, Sorry, rambling. I don't know why. Anyway, let me show you what I finished recently, and I'll tell you what I liked about it and what we can learn from it, and all that stuff. This is Ex-Purgatory by Peter Clines. Okay, Ex-Purgatory, Peter Clines. It is a novel of the X-Heroes series. It's the fourth book out of five. I have the fifth one, haven't read it yet, obviously. So this is the fourth one. I'm going to get to the fifth one, obviously. I've been enjoying these a lot. What it is, I've reviewed some of these, at least one of them before on here, but it's really up my alley very well. It's superheroes plus zombies, so it's like a world where superheroes exist, and these are original characters, they're not in Marvel or DC or anything, and then the zombie apocalypse happens. So it's like this small community of superheroes. It's the main characters are like four of them, although there's others who have been in the series. Um, Four-ish superheroes and a whole bunch of people um, in a surviving community like in The Walking Dead and the zombie apocalypse. So really interesting stuff. I'm a fan of both. I mean, superheroes are my big thing, but I'm also a fan of zombies and The Walking Dead and stuff. So having them both combined in one book is kind of a delight for me. It's just really up my alley. And then my good friend Corbin Penn, I've had him on these videos before. He recommended the series to me because I'm writing a superhero prose novel, and I won't say I'm the only one. I mean, but I mean, like it's relatively uncommon. I mean, it's getting more common, I think, because the superhero genre is exploding, and there's room for it in like every medium apparently. But superhero prose novels are relatively less common. So Corbin told me, I think what you're trying to do is similar to what this guy's trying to do, and you should check it out. So I read the first two a few years ago, like in 2019 actually. Then 2020 was crazy. I mean, for everyone. I know there was a pandemic, but we also moved and started a new job and had a baby, so that was a lot. So I just couldn't get. I just didn't get a chance to read a lot for a while. I picked up the third one, but I want to finish the series because I still enjoy them a lot. Picked up the third one last year, read the fourth one this year, and I'll get to the fifth one too. Um, yeah, so fun story. Superheroes versus zombies, and of course there's supervillains too. There's one villain who's able to like possess the zombies. So like the zombies are mindless creatures, but this guy can like basically possess them and make them speak or make them act as he wants them to and control them. That's interesting. The main character is Saint George. He's known as the Mighty Dragon. He's kind of the everyman, almost Supermanish figure. I mean, he's like he can fly and he's basically indestructible, but he also can breathe fire because dragons. And then there's Stealth, who's like a ninja, or I mean, kind of a ninja. She's almost the Batman of the group, like no powers, just really smart and weapons training and good detective and everything. Um, and there's two others. Danielle is Cerberus, which has this big armor battle suit called Cerberus, and Barry is this guy. He turns into Zap, which is just he's made of living lightning. So those are the four main characters. There's other characters that have been introduced too. And in this book, this fourth one, I think George and Stealth's real name is Karen. They were much more major characters than the other two in this one. I guess if you had to have a male and female, a first tier male and female lead and a second tier male and female lead, which my story does too. George and Karen are the first two. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this book specifically, not just the series. There's I like this one. I think it wasn't my favorite one in the series. So I just told you what's been going on, like superheroes versus zombies. That's the world they live in. So it's like I don't know, season 4 or something of The Walking Dead, when at least 4, when people have been used to zombies for a while, but add that like plus the Avengers. So, so like they live in this world that obviously has supernatural elements in it. But the first chapter of this one, there was a prologue and then a chapter, and George is waking up in a world world where that's not going on. He is like a janitor on a college campus. He's a facilities guy, and he just is living this ordinary life. And I didn't really know what was going on at first, but I pretty much got the idea pretty quickly. Um, like, okay, this is one of those things where it's a dream world, lots of lots of superheroes have had that at some point. Of course, other genres too have too, especially in fantasy and sci-fi, where for whatever reason they give to explain it, the hero finds himself in a dream world where he thinks everything is just normal and he's not a superhero and all this stuff. So I mean, it was well done and everything. It was fine for this kind of story. Once I realized that pretty quickly, I was like, oh, I admit I was a little disappointed. I was like, is this going to be like 200 pages of trying to remember who you are and figure out the truth before we get to the real action? And it kind of was. I mean, there were fun adventures on the way, but it kind of was that. Again. I mean, George is so in this book he's a normal guy, but there's a girl who's with them named Madeline who somehow remembers some of the real world, and she tries to remind him, wake up and this is a dream. You're actually, this isn't the real world, and he's skeptical obviously, but he sees hints. Of course, there are times he sees people who look like zombies for a moment, and then he goes back to his normal life, and thinking that he just hallucinated or something. He's a janitor. He's moving heavy stuff, and like one day he realizes he can pick up a dumpster or a couch or something, and he's like, oh, how'd that happen? And he realizes he's much stronger than than he even knew. So yeah, he gets hints of the real world, and he tries to remember some of these people, but and he eventually goes to find Karen and Barry and Danielle and the rest of the crew and help them remember their real life too. But they were in this fantasy world for a long time. Minor spoiler, but if you well, I won't tell you, but there was a previous villain who came back who somehow orchestrated this, and I didn't expect that. I didn't see it coming, but the way they explained it, it worked. I mean, it's comic book science, which is always gimmicky, but it works. Um, so yeah, it was good. It might be my least favorite in the series. I mean, I still enjoyed it a lot. I don't want to criticize it. I think I like some of the other ones better because they were in this fantasy world for a while, or I mean, well, they were in this world that seemed normal, where actually their real world is of course the superhero zombie world. And I was looking for a superhero zombie story, and this was a story about someone trying to remember his life, which is also great. But I was just like, it's different, and it's not the same characters, or I mean it is the same characters, but they have they're not the same as I expect them to be in this book. It's kind of like I made this comparison a while back to myself. I don't know if I ever said it on a video. I read the Artemis Fowl books years ago as a teen, and I guess into college. I think the last few came out when I was in college, so maybe too old for them. But I wanted to finish out the series, and I think it was book 7, which is the second to last one. It was called the Atlantis Complex. Artemis Fowl, the Atlantis Complex, and in that one, like, there was some weird mind disease that was affecting Artemis. There was some kind of magic disease for the whole book. So like, yeah, he was in it, and they gave a magic reason for it, but he was not the way he normally is. He's normally this calm and collected character, and like calculating and stuff. He's a teenage criminal mastermind. In this one, he was erratic and weird, and had all the different stuff going on with his mind. And I'm like, okay, I get why, and I get it's a conflict I need to overcome, but I'm not seeing the main character I wanted to see as much. So that was not my favorite Artemis Fowl book. It was just, I mean, I understand why, and if you want to throw your characters in the fantasy world for a while, I get it. But I just say, I guess, if you ever do anything that's even remotely analogous to that, depending on what kind of story you're writing, also give your readers glimpses of your main character. Like I guess I would say, just remind them of why they should like these characters and still root for them. And yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way when it comes to like fantasy worlds and stuff, or I mean even your characters living in a dream world. but I always feel like, oh, like I want the main character to come back, and I want the real George to come back, you know. And I mean, obviously he does eventually. Spoilers, no, and you know the reader is rooting for that moment and should be rooting for that moment, but I do feel like for 200 pages I was just like, okay, when is he actually going to pick up sometimes? So yeah, it might be my least favorite in the series, but I still enjoyed it a lot. I still want to read the fifth one. Um, so I still recommend the whole series. Obviously, don't start here if you haven't read them. Start with Ex-Heroes by Peter Clines. That's the first one. It's Ex-Heroes, Ex-Patriots, Ex-Communication, then Ex-Purgatory. I think the last one's called Ex-Isle. Anyway, I'm out of time, but yeah, I just wanted to share those things. Even when you have you know, dream worlds and crazy circumstances and all these fantastical things like superheroes and zombies and whatnot. You know, remind your readers of why they should care about your characters. I guess that's the takeaway for today. Give them something human and something familiar and something just, I don't know, cool and interesting and heroic to latch on to, because that's the reason we go to stories. Thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful, and I will see you all next time. Have a great weekend. Bye.